Jacob became the live-in manager for her family business for 10 years, helping his wife manage the company. Jacob usually endured her willfulness and constant infidelities, even drinking until his stomach bled to help her secure projects. It was only during his hospitalization that he discovered she and the doctor had conspired to implant an artificial uterus in Jacob to bear children for her lover. She had also long ago cut Jacob's vast deferens, and even Jacob's stomach problems were caused by her poisoning him. Jacob then realized he was nothing more than her tool. After the family patriarch learned of this, he helped Jacob fake his death to escape. Jacob moved south to start his own venture, and his company took off. When Jacob remarried, she, now down on her luck, came pleading desperately for Jacob's forgiveness, which he refused. At the same time, the family patriarch completely severed ties with her. She could only maintain her life by taking on odd jobs. Later, she sold her eggs at an unethical clinic, got infected, and died on the operating table. Jacob was Mr. Robert's assistant and husband. At the gala, Jacob drank until he fainted from stomach bleeding to help his wife secure a project. When he opened his eyes again, Jacob had fallen off the hospital bed, his stomach aching from the violent jolt, making him dry heave. His wife, who was supposedly there to take care of Jacob, was now sprawled carelessly asleep on Jacob's hospital bed. Taylor was always like this, spoiled rotten. Jacob had endured her spoiled temper for 10 years. He was long used to such things. Even though Charlotte had always been terrible to Jacob, for the sake of Liam's debt of gratitude, Jacob was willing to live a good life with her. Jacob sighed, got up, took her blanket in, and casually pulled out the phone she was still holding. He unexpectedly saw a message pop up on the screen. Mr. Robert, Nova's latest research on artificial wombs is still in the experimental stage. We can't guarantee how much harm it will cause the male host. Are you sure you want to implant it in Finn? Alex is your husband of 10 years. After all, this time, you didn't control the dosage of the medication properly, making him lose half his stomach for nothing. Besides, Jacob has already had his vas deferens removed. He can never have his own child in this lifetime. Can you really bear to completely destroy him, turning him into some kind of neither man nor woman monster? The sender was Jacob's attending physician, also Jacob's old classmate, Jacob. Jacob's stomach was an old problem. He would come to Jacob's office to check it periodically. Over the years, Jacob and his friend were not just classmates and doctor-patient. They were good buddies who could talk about anything. But now, seeing these words, Jacob felt dizzy. Jacob swallowed the metallic taste of blood welling up in his throat, enduring the discomfort in his stomach, then unlocked the phone with Charlotte's fingerprint. With trembling hands, he tapped into their chat, scrolling up little by little, forcing himself to read every word. Harper has late-stage stomach cancer. He doesn't have much time left. His last wish is to have a child of his own. Jacob, as the dignified CEO of Wen Group, has already had her eggs retrieved. She cannot endure the pain of being pregnant for 10 months to give birth. Jacob also won't allow any other woman to have the slightest connection with Harper or their child. But Alex can. Alex is Jacob's nominal husband. He should contribute to Jacob's child. Besides, the Wen family has pampered him for so many years. It's time to collect some interest. Evelyn isn't your mentor researching male pregnancy projects in Nova. Implant an artificial womb Alex and let him carry it. This will be Jacob and Harper's child, completely and truly theirs. Zion. Jacob's eyes were red as he silently uttered this quite familiar name. It was the moderately attractive male model who had completely enchanted his wife. Mr. Robert had always been quite promiscuous. Jacob knew this before he agreed to move into her family's world. Throughout their marriage, Jacob's head had never been free of constant infidelity, but Jacob thought that no matter how much she liked someone, it was just a fling. After all, Jacob was the one who shared her triumphs and failures as her husband. He never expected that Charlotte, who constantly emphasized being child-free, would be willing to undergo IVF for Zion. Back then, Jacob's mother was critically ill, and her lifelong wish was to hold her grandson soon. Jacob told her countless times that he already had one, but she simply didn't believe it. She insisted on hearing it directly from Charlotte. Helpless, Jacob had to plead it desperately with Charlotte to help him put on a show. She just needed to tell Jacob's mother that she was pregnant. To fulfill the elderly woman's dying wish, it was just a matter of a single sentence. Yet Charlotte let Jacob kneel outside the ward, banging his head until it bled, but she refused to agree. She emphatically stated that she was staunchly child-free, and lying about pregnancy was tantamount to cursing her to an early death. Before her passing, Jacob's mother held her breath, looking expectantly at Charlotte outside the door, just wanting confirmation of the pregnancy from her, but Charlotte wouldn't even grant a nod. Jacob could only watch as Jacob's mother's cloudy eyes slowly dimmed, until she took her last breath unwillingly. Without closing them, the Charlotte who wouldn't even tell a lie back then was now willing to retrieve eggs and undergo IVF for Zion, so child-free was just an excuse. She simply didn't want to help Jacob. Jacob always thought Charlotte was just spoiled. Naturally heartless, he never expected she had long ago given her fervent feeling wholeheartedly to a male model who was used by many, all these years, even though she never respected Jacob. Jacob did his best to give her the best. After all, she was Jacob's wife. This was Jacob's responsibility as a man. Jacob managed the company for her, negotiated projects for her, handling all matters big and small, inside and out. What he got in return was her increasingly brazen promiscuity outside. Poor Jacob believed her then, believed she was truly child-free. To put her at ease, Jacob agreed to vasectomy under her partial coaxing and coercion, and Evelyn, whom Jacob regarded as a buddy, conspired with her. On the surface, she lied to Jacob, saying it could be reversed later, but in reality, she completely severed Jacob's vast deferens. Now, she wants to give Zion a child but is unwilling to bear the inevitable pain of carrying a life, so she set her sights on Jacob, a man. Jacob's heart ached intensely. Jacob had done so much for her. Even if he couldn't warm her stone heart, at least she should have felt a little bit of reluctance towards Jacob, shouldn't she? 10 years of marriage, Jacob didn't even ask for her fidelity. Yet he never expected her to strike such a vicious blow. Jacob gritted his teeth, enduring the churning pain in his stomach, then used his last bit of strength to photograph all the evidence on Charlotte's phone. Charlotte, you want to be a mother without pain now? Not a chance, finally. Jacob couldn't hold on and hit his head on the nightstand. Before losing consciousness, Jacob heard Charlotte's panicked voice from above him. Doctor, where's the doctor? Jacob's husband fainted. Help, Mr. Robert, are you really sure? Jacob hesitated repeatedly. Pressing on, this project hasn't been tested on humans yet. We can't guarantee what will happen. Losing the baby is a minor issue, but the side effects on Alice's body are irreversible, and he might even die from it. Charlotte's voice was decisive. Don't worry. Just proceed with the experiment. Jacob won't hold you accountable. The Wen family has taken him in for so many years. It's time for him to repay them. But remember, no matter the cost, you must save Jacob's child. Jacob wanted to struggle but couldn't even open his eyes. His limbs were motionless, like a piece of pork openly priced in a market. He could only feel the latex gloves of Jacob's doctor measuring his abdomen inch by inch. Jacob's heart grew colder and colder to please her young lover. Charlotte didn't hesitate to transform Jacob into a monster. Once the surgery was complete, Jacob, this anomaly, would only be able to cling to life like a rat in a sewer, under societal scorn and never seeing the light of day. She didn't care how Jacob would cope with this decision afterward. Nor did she care about Jacob's life. In her eyes, the meaning of Jacob's body was to bear the fruit of their love. All right, Jacob understands. The equipment will arrive in 3 days. We'll schedule the surgery immediately after that. Jacob's footsteps, pushing the gurney, faded into the distance. The surroundings were quiet for less than a moment before an unfamiliar male voice, speaking in a strained tone, rang out. Sister J, is Brother Chen's body really all right? It's all my fault for getting cancer. Otherwise, I would have carried our child myself. It's just having a child. He's a grown man. He's not that fragile. The bed dip. Charlotte's voice echoed in Jacob's ear. As for Harper, you must be hurt, right? They'll make sure you get good nourishment later. I'm fine. Cough, cough, cough. They'll be fine after a few days of rest. Zion also climbed onto the bed, pressing heavily on Jacob's hand where he was receiving info. Sis, let's keep the best word for Brother Chen. He just had half his stomach removed. The nurse said he needs good rest. Charlotte said coldly. He's just being dramatic. It's only half a stomach. Who is he trying to look pathetic for? You have late-stage stomach cancer. You don't know how much pain you've endured all these years. They impatiently began explicit acts on Jacob's hospital bed, kicking Jacob's stomach precisely several times. But what hurt more than his stomach was Jacob's heart. Sister, you're so good to me. I was afraid to undergo treatment alone. So all these years you kept giving Brother Chen medicine so he could share the pain of stomach illness with me. Don't worry. Once the child is born, you'll cut out his remaining half stomach too. Charlotte's voice was breathless, fragmented. How could I bear to let you endure the torment of stomach cancer alone? As the hospital bed shook, Jacob's heart sank to rock bottom. Jacob had always thought his frequent project negotiations and drinking at business dinners had ruined his stomach. It turned out Charlotte had been calculating from the very beginning. All these years, she had already drained Jacob dry. Yet Jacob, foolishly, had willingly taken the drink for her. She used Jacob's intellect and methods to achieve her goals and expand the company, and she used harm to Jacob's body to show loyalty to her young lover. What a perfect double play. Jacob's fingertips trembled uncontrollably. It was Jacob's trust and indulgence in her that had personally given her the opportunity to hurt Jacob. But once the pregnancy gets noticeable, it won't be hidden. Will Brother Chen get angry if he finds out he's pregnant later? He's Jacob's husband. He didn't even put in any effort for conception, and being able to carry Jacob's child is a gift to him. Charlotte let out a long, satisfied sigh, her tone mocking. He's just a vessel. He has no right to say whether he wants to or not. Jacob, forced to witness their intimacy, felt worse than eating dirt. Perhaps it was the stimulating, Jacob fully woke up. The sheets were stained, and the chaotic scent lingered in the air, all seemingly mocking Jacob for having wasted so many years of affection. Jacob's heart no longer stung. Only endless sorrow remained. Over the next few days, Jacob wasn't sure if someone had tampered with him, but although his mind was clear, his limbs were completely powerless as Charlotte staged a daily show of deep marital affection by Jacob's bedside. Alex, your stomach was severely injured this time. You'll need surgery tomorrow. Don't worry, Jacob has arranged everything. It will all be fine. There was even a hint of felt a pang of sympathy in her eyes. If Jacob hadn't known the truth, he would probably have been fooled again. Jacob gazed at her, his eyes heavy. Taylor, will Jacob really get better? Charlotte nervously avoided Jacob's gaze, gripping Jacob's hand tightly. You will get better. The company's projects are waiting for you to finish them. Jacob gave a weak smile, no longer arguing under the covers. His hand silently caressed his father's military medal. After Charlotte left, Jacob received a message from Liam. Little Chen, I heard your stomach problems flared up again. Is it Taylor again? I told you not to spoil her so much. Jacob is on a plane back home. Take good care of yourself. They'll come see you as soon as I land. Jacob took a deep breath. For years, Liam had treated Jacob like his own son. Taylor had even been jealous of this, if it weren't to repay the 10 years of nurturing kindness. Jacob wouldn't have volunteered to move into her family's world for his only daughter. After became the live-in manager for her family business, Jacob dedicated himself wholeheartedly to the company in Charlotte for 10 years. He could honestly say he had a clear conscience. Yet now he had come to this end. It was time for a conclusion. Just as he finished replying, the hospital room door was pushed open violently. Zion, completely discarding his previous 2 days of feigned weakness, stood imperiously by the bedside. Iris, so what if you're Mr. Robert's nominal husband? Mr. Robert's heart and body belong to me. You're just a tool for her to control the company. I just needed a small trick to make you lose half your stomach and your vast deference. Tell me, what should I make you lose next? He looked like Benjamin, deliberately flaunting a globally limited edition watch on his wrist, trying to find pleasure in Jacob's reaction. Seeing Jacob's indifferent expression, Zion seemed provoked. He rushed forward, grabbing Jacob's collar and snarling, I hate your indifferent attitude the most. You're not as young as I am, not as handsome, not as sweet-talking, and your performance in bed isn't as good as mine. But Sister Jade, how can she be reluctant to divorce such a boring man like you? If Liam hadn't disagreed, Charlotte would probably have wanted to get rid of me long ago. How could she be reluctant to divorce because of Jacob? Jacob forced a bitter smile. You're overthinking it. We'll be divorced soon. Zion glanced at his watch, suddenly withdrew his hand, and even specifically straightened Jacob's wrinkled collar. Doesn't matter. Sister Jade has already promised me that when you're pregnant, the CEO assistant position will be mine. He leaned into Jacob's ear, lowering his voice. You'll soon lose everything, completely losing the capital to compete with me. Before Jacob could react, Zion grabbed Jacob's hand, pushed himself, and fell to the ground. The next second, Charlotte's furious roar came from the doorway. Iris, what are you doing? Charlotte rushed forward, helped Zion up, and without a word, slapped Jacob backhanded. Zion has late-stage stomach cancer. He endured the pain to come see you, and you not only aren't grateful but you hurt him. How can there be such a vicious man like you? Zion leaned on Charlotte, weakly saying, I just wanted to ask Brother Chen for advice on managing the company. He thought I wanted to steal his position. It's not Brother Chen's fault. Cough, cough, cough. He must not have rested well recently to be so impulsive. Charlotte looked at Zion, her eyes full of felt heartbroken for him, then turned to Jacob, her gaze completely transforming into disgust. While you've been slacking off in the hospital these past few days, if Zion hadn't helped me, the company would have been in chaos. What right do you have to be jealous of him? Jacob opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Zion cut him off. Sister Jade, don't be angry. Brother Chen is your nominal husband, unlike me. Cough, cough, cough. I can only accompany Sister Jade for a short while longer. It's a pity I won't see our child born. Then Brother Chen will be the child's father. I only ask that Sister Jade never forget me. Zion's eyes reddened as he spoke, coughing and sobbing softly. Charlotte's felt heartbroken for him was almost overflowing. She clenched her fists, her eyes obscure. Impossible. Our child will only have one father. You, don't make Alex completely a woman. Jacob's eyes widened. He frantically and fearfully grabbed Charlotte's hand, pleaded desperately. Alex, I'm doing this for your own good. Only by completely undergoing sex reassignment can you avoid becoming a neither man nor woman monster. Then you can rest assured and carry the baby. And the Wen family will always protect you. She brushed off Jacob's powerless hand and ordered Jacob to be pushed into the operating room, leaving Jacob to struggle on the hospital bed. The green light in the operating room was on for 5 hours. Charlotte settled Zion and waited alone outside for a long time, her heart fluctuating with an indescribable feeling. Finally, Jacob came out, his surgical gown stained red with blood, his voice trembling. Mr. Robert, The surgery failed due to massive hemorrhage. Alex could not be resuscitated. Charlotte held Jacob's death certificate. Her mind a blank. Zion had tried to see her many times these past few days, but she didn't want to. She felt like a walking corpse. She couldn't understand why, even though she had personally ordered the experimental artificial uterus surgery for Jacob. Even though she had told the hospital to prioritize the baby's life over Jacob's. Why, after Jacob's death, did her heart suddenly feel empty, as if she had lost something important? It must be because the surgery failed, and she lost her and Zion's child. Yes, that must be. The reason for her breakdown was the loss of the child. Absolutely not because of Jacob. That bland and interesting man. How could Jacob compare to Zion's youth and beauty? Zion had an A-pack, was sweet-talking, perceptive, and had many tricks in bed. Thinking this, Charlotte forced herself to find Zion again. But when Zion took her hand, what came to Charlotte's mind was Jacob's pleading face in the operating room. Those hands had once decisively cleared all company obstacles for her, supporting her, allowing her to quickly establish herself in the Win Group. But that day, under Evelyn's medication, they had become so soft and powerless, she had easily shaken them off. Charlotte's suspicious gaze finally fell upon Zion, who was diligently trying to please her. Zion thought Charlotte was interested in him, so he quickly grabbed her hand and guided it to his beautifully defined chest muscles. I've been hitting the gym every day recently, just to make you happy, sister. Evelyn injected Alex with muscle relaxants for 3 full days to prevent him from escaping. Charlotte narrowed her eyes and said coldly he couldn't even get out of bed. So how could he push you? Sister Jade, you forgot. I have late-stage stomach cancer. My body is very weak. Zion's voice grew less confident as he spoke. When can someone with late-stage stomach cancer go to the gym every day? Charlotte scanned the body she had once adored, which perfectly fit her aesthetic. She suddenly felt a bit nauseous. Jacob's death affected Charlotte more than Zion had anticipated. He was too eager and showed his hand. Charlotte had been blinded, but she wasn't truly foolish. Now, she finally came to her senses. She quickly found out that Zion was specifically arranged by Atlas to mislead her, in order to seize family property. Yet, she had harmed her true husband for such a mercenary scoundrel. After realizing the truth, Charlotte was despondent for several days. But the company's operations couldn't wait. Executives flocked to the mansion entrance, waiting for her final decision. Mr. Robert, Finn is incredibly foresightful. The opposing party really caved. What should we do now? Mr. Robert, Finn said this contract needed your review before he was hospitalized. And Mr. Robert, this is Finn's previous project. Who should I report to now? Mr. Robert, Jacob had only been dead for 5 days, and the company was already in complete disarray, with mountains of tasks piled up. But Charlotte's CEO title was just that, a title. She had been a hands-off boss for many years, only caring about enjoying herself outside. Jacob was the actual decision-maker for the Win Group. The cutthroat world of business was more terrifying than she imagined. In just half a month, the company's stock market dropped by 20% without Jacob's involvement. The company's internal structure was quickly infiltrated by Atlas, and Charlotte's power was almost gone. Finally, under the aggressive pressure from the board, Charlotte couldn't hold on anymore. Tired, half a month delayed, streamed down. She remembered all of Jacob's kindness. Jacob always silently cleaned up her messes, with Jacob as her backing. No one in the Win Group dared to speak ill of her, although she hardly ever ate at home. Every time she came back drunk, there was always hangover cure Jacob had personally made in the microwave. Yet, such a man, who wholeheartedly cared for her, was personally killed by her. Charlotte was filled with remorse, drowning her sorrows in alcohol every day until Liam couldn't stand it anymore and slapped her twice forcefully. What's the use of regretting now? Alex was 1 in a million. Do you know that when he just graduated, Blake and Riley both offered him positions, and even the renowned Casey was willing to marry his only daughter, Ella, to him? But that child was deeply affectionate. Out of all ties with our Win family, he voluntarily offered to move into her family's world. Such a huge blessing, and you didn't cherish it, instead fooling around outside. Alex diligently and intelligently managed the group for these 10 years, leading the Win family to be among the top 3 in Sterling City. I never expected you to ruin it completely in just half a month. Not only did you not properly learn from Alex, but you even fantasized about giving him an artificial uterus surgery for a male model. Liam was trembling with rage as he said this, almost collapsing. From today on, you are no longer the CEO of Win Group. Get out and reflect properly. You owe Alex, and you'll never be able to repay it in this lifetime. Charlotte knew well the consequences of being abandoned by her father. She shed all her pride and willfulness, kowtowing repeatedly, fighting for a slim chance of survival. I was wrong. Dad, please forgive me. I just made a mistake that any woman could make. Alex loved me so much. He definitely won't blame me. Besides, our Win family has taken Alex in for so many years. Charlotte's words were interrupted again by Liam's slap. Taken in. Amelia sacrificed herself to save me back then. It's our Wynn family's mission to care for his orphan. Besides, the Kin family's inheritance is enough for Alex to live lavishly for generations. The reason he came to the Wynn family was simply out of respect for our parents' old friendship, willing to use Amelia's legacy to protect the Wynn family otherwise. How do you think our Wynn family gained a foothold in this vast Sterling city? It's our Wynn family. It's you who failed Alex. Liam couldn't help but shed old tears, and Charlotte was completely stunned. Her father had never told her these things. She had always thought Jacob was a pitiful orphan who had been taken in by her father because of his hard work and ambition. She had always thought that Jacob's move into her family's world meant he had incredible luck, and that he owed her, Charlotte, therefore, for so many years. She had never given Jacob a kind look, taking his care for granted. She never expected Jacob to be the true stabilizing force of the Wynn family. Jacob's tolerance towards her all these years wasn't out of repayment or apology, but merely out of a husband's responsibility. And how did she act? Openly keeping lovers outside, modifying Jacob's body to bear the illegitimate child of another man, and even trying to completely strip Jacob of his dignity as a man. Charlotte finally realized what a good man she had missed. Her heart was twisted in agony. She didn't even dare to imagine how much Jacob must have hated her lying on the operating table. Alex, I was wrong. She couldn't hold back anymore, furiously slapping her own face again and again, until her usually expensive and well-maintained face was swollen like a pig's head. But even if she cried until her tears ran dry, Jacob would never come back. The day the surgery was declared a failure, Jacob completely left the Wynn family. The hospital Charlotte chose was under the Wynn group's name. The moment Jacob received Liam's message, Jacob revealed all the details and evidence. It's important to know that the evidence Jacob had was enough to send Charlotte to prison for the rest of her life. But out of consideration for Liam's meticulous care for Jacob over the years, Jacob was willing to do one last favor for the Wynn family. Ella, Jacob is very grateful that the Wynn family took Jacob in after his father's death. My contributions to the Wynn family during these 10 years of becoming the live-in manager for her family business are clear to everyone. Now that Taylor has done this to Jacob, Jacob can temporarily not pursue legal action against her. Jacob hopes Ella will, for the sake of Jacob's father, help Jacob leave completely. From now on, Jacob and the Wynn family are quits, throwing each other nothing. In the operating room that day, the blood on Jacob's body was his own. Ella arrived with bodyguards in time and gave him a good beating. He had originally wanted to make Charlotte kneel and apologize to Jacob in person, but Jacob stopped him. Dad, Jacob knows that you've treated Jacob like your own son all these years. That's why Jacob repeatedly tolerated Taylor, believing she would eventually return to the family. But this time, Jacob is truly tired. Just consider Iris dead. This was the first and last time Jacob called him Dad. The usually dignified head of the family was completely broken by this dad and knelt before Jacob. He pounded his fists on the hospital bed, unable to stop sobbing. My child, it's the Wynn family who failed you. With Liam's help, Jacob successfully faked his death to escape. Jacob refused Liam's final pleas and millions of dollars of goodwill, taking only his father's military medal and bank card. He headed south, finally settling in Alexander. His father's inheritance was enough for Jacob to rebuild his empire. This time, Jacob would be managing a company entirely his own. In the second year after his company went public, Jacob saw a familiar face in Alexander. Lucas, she was Jacob's direct junior from university. They didn't interact much then. It was only after graduation that he learned she was the sole heir to Sterling City's most prominent family. Casey, at the graduation party, she meticulously arranged a grand confession, blushing as she revealed her feelings to Jacob in front of everyone. But the Wynn family had been kind to Jacob, and he had already tied his future to them, so he could only politely decline her. After that, Jacob willingly devoted everything to the Wynn family and no longer paid attention to Lucas. He never expected to see her again in Alexander after so many years. This charity gala gathered almost all the prominent figures in Alexander. Jacob, as the only invited representative of a new enterprise, didn't know many people and felt a bit awkward at the reception. She stood there, holding a stemmed glass, walking step by step towards Jacob through the crowd under the sparkling crystal lights. Lucas had changed a lot, completely shedding her youthful innocence from university. She exuded a maturity unique to the cutthroat business world, with grace in every movement, but when she smiled, it was as radiant as ever. Senior Kin, long time no see. Though both were daughters of influential families, Lucas was completely different from Charlotte. She didn't waste her days relying on her family's background but developed her own industries in Sterling City. Now that her scale was growing, she also wanted to get a slice of the pie in Alexander. As fellow young entrepreneurs, Jacob and she had too many common topics, and they talked through the night. In the days that followed in Alexander, they shared resources and supported each other. In his 6th year in Alexander, Jacob's company impressively became an industry leader. Even more happily, Jacob and Lucas finally achieved a positive outcome and were about to get married. In the business world, human relations are indispensable. Even when James scoffed at Jacob, even refusing to see him, it was Lucas who accompanied Jacob on countless trips, even willing to use Casey's reputation as a guarantee. Later, Jacob learned that Lucas hadn't believed Jacob had simply died back then and had searched for news of Jacob everywhere at all costs. Upon learning Jacob was an Alexander, she even abandoned her years of hard-won foundation in Sterling City and came to Jacob without hesitation. Over the years, Jacob had long been touched by Noah's meticulous care and unconditional trust, and Noah had wanted to get married 2 years ago. But Jacob had sworn to give her a better life. Now, Jacob was finally capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with Casey. Noah loved extremely romantic Western-style weddings. Jacob booked the entire estate, personally overseeing every detail on the lawn. The wedding planning company was recommended by a friend. They were efficient and reliable. Hey, new guy, don't dawdle, put the white roses here. Under the planner's urging, the dark-skinned, somewhat thin woman walked towards Jacob. The moment she clearly saw Jacob, the flower pot in her hand crashed to the ground with a clang, followed by a loud cry, "Alex! Alex, is that you?" Before Jacob could react, the woman in faded jeans hugged Jacob's leg. She sobbed uncontrollably, clinging to him desperately, ignoring her appearance. "Alex, I'm Taylor. I was wrong, please forgive me." Encountering Charlotte again was actually within Jacob's expectations. Although the wedding location was set in Alexander, due to Casey's prestige, many dignitaries from Sterling City still came to attend. Noah was thoughtful and considerate. She didn't care about Jacob's past grievances with the Wynn family and even sent invitations to them. However, Jacob didn't expect to see Charlotte attending not as a guest, but as an employee of the wedding planning company. The person in charge immediately stepped forward, pulled her away, and quickly bowed to Jacob, apologizing. "I'm so sorry. Boss, so sorry. This is a newly hired temporary worker. She doesn't know the rules. They'll fire her right now." He then signaled for people to help, pulling Charlotte away from both sides. Charlotte struggled desperately, her entire body sprawled on the ground, refusing to leave. "Alex, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for being blinded by that little slut Zion. For the sake of our 10 years as husband and wife, please come back." The surrounding people were shocked by her words, unsure whether to continue pulling her. Jacob looked down at her, speaking indifferently. "Charlotte, were we husband and wife for 10 years? Or was I your assistant? I think you know better than I do." "That's right." Jacob becoming the live-in manager for her family business was only announced unilaterally by the Wynn family to the outside world. Charlotte looked down on Jacob. She threatened suicide, refused to hold a wedding, and never even registered their marriage. She wouldn't even give Jacob a proper title, demanding that everyone in the company only call Jacob Finn. At that time, Jacob was focused on repaying his debt of gratitude, only wanting to lead the Wynn family further, and didn't care about these formalities. Therefore, Liam didn't force her. For these 10 years, she had never given Jacob the respect due to a spouse. Jacob's existence in the company was nothing more than a joke. Jacob's legal relationship with Charlotte and the Wynn family, to put it bluntly, was nothing more than a labor contract. It was this fragile contract that trapped Jacob for 10 years, almost costing him his life. "Barry, are you okay?" Noah, having received the news, ran over from a distance and shielded Jacob behind her. "Ari rejected all influential families for you back then, yet you betrayed him and even harmed his body. You never respected him. So how can you have the audacity to beg for his forgiveness?" Jacob looked at Noah's flushed profile, feeling a sweet warmth in his heart. He couldn't help but pull her into an embrace. To have a wife like this, what more could a man ask for? Seeing the scene, Charlotte completely collapsed. She knelt on the ground for a long time, then finally limped away. The Wynn family was now controlled by the second branch, and Charlotte had been completely abandoned by Liam. Over the years, she had relied on took on odd jobs to make a living. Hearing that there were many opportunities in Alexander, she decided to try her luck. She finally found a temporary job, only to ruin it with her impulsiveness, without any specialized skills. She couldn't establish herself in the highly competitive Alexander and could only continue to drift to earn quick money. She even resorted to selling her eggs at an unethical clinic, ultimately dying on the operating table due to infection. As for Zion, the last thing Charlotte did before leaving Sterling City was to hand him over to her former unsavory associates. Those wealthy young women showed no restraint and literally worked him to death. Of course, that Jacob was unaware of these matters and had no intention of investigating them. At this moment, Jacob stood under the pure white church, the solemn voice of the pastor resonating throughout the estate. "Do you both willingly take each other as husband and wife, to love him, honor him, and protect him, in poverty or in wealth, in sickness and in health? Until death do you part?" Jacob held the flowers, looking at the woman he loved and who loved him, and sincerely said, "Lucas, will you marry me?" Balloons and white doves soared around them. Under the sunlight, Noah, tears streaming down her face, threw herself into Jacob's arms. "I will." Accompanied by enthusiastic applause and heartfelt blessings from below the stage, Jacob embraced his happiness, enough for a lifetime.